I'm gonna sum up Breaking Bad for you real fast. Jesse, where the hell are you? Mr. White, quit being such a dick, man, bitch. There you go, that's the whole show. Breaking Bad! This is one of the best shows of all time. If this show had a dick, I would suck it. Then we'd smoke a bowl of meth afterwards. No amount of words can express my love and enthusiasm for this show. The way it starts off, and then by the time it ends, I mean, you got like two completely different set of characters by the end. All these characters don't just grow every season, they evolve like every episode. I've seen a lot of shows where like, yes, the character evolves one season and then by like the next they're back to pretty much being themselves. It's like the impact didn't do much. I'm gonna do my best to review this show without giving away any spoilers, because let's face it, if there were spoilers, it would be straight to the point. Bryan Cranston as Walter fucking White. I added fucking, that's not his real middle name. This show is just pure brilliance at a whole other caliber. They took a man in his early 50s who's like a self-loathing little Joe, high school chemistry teacher. Sounds so boring. But then he does exactly what the show says. He starts to break bad. Cause once homeboy is diagnosed with cancer, enough is enough, motherfucker! You see him break worse, not just bad. He gets badder throughout the seasons. He evolves into a monster. Like by the time you get to season 5, especially the last half, which some of you are gonna be like, isn't that season 6, Ryan? And to that I say, you're a fucking idiot. Like by the last half of season 5, you start to feel like, wait a minute, is Walt the bad guy? Should we trust Walt? I guess my point I'm trying to get at is you start to wonder if you should, be on board with Walt. They give us a character to watch like the nicest, most timid human being evolve into Caucasian Scarface. Huh? It's so strange because they challenge the audience to be on board with a character. Like this wouldn't have gotten away years ago. He just gets so bad. He's bad. Like the Michael Jackson song. And the worse he got, the more hooked you became. You didn't stop liking him, you just thought he was more badass. Like I noticed in the first season, they put most of its focus on Walter White, as they should have, as any smart writer would do. But once we got into season 2, we started to explore the supporting cast even more. And Aaron Paul as Jesse Pinkman. What the hell, Mr. White? I love this guy. I rewatched the whole series. Man, when I first saw the show, I thought he was gonna be some like annoying douchebag, cocky little shit whose performance I would probably hate. Like some piece of shit television actor, because I am that judgmental. But it's like in a heartbeat, he starts to win you over. The role could have easily been ruined. Seriously. I don't mean this in a bad way. It's like he's not even acting. He's just that authentic. From his like paranoid mannerisms, to his thuggish attitude, from his lack of knowledge to what he happens to be knowledgeable about, his sense of humor, all his trauma, all that shit, man. He embodies the role. You love the guy, you root for him, you feel for him. And it's so interesting to watch like a partnership story evolve into what it became by the last season. Damn, I can't give away any spoilers. Anna Gunn as Skyler White, Walter White's wife. WWW. Honestly, the first time I watched the show, I fucking hated this bitch. I was definitely on Team Walter. But when I rewatched the show, I saw how brilliant her performance is. Just psychologically, the way this character evolves into like a damaged, emotionally repressed human being who's conflicted by love for her husband. All that resonates in her performance. And plus in the first season, she's beautiful to look at. I would bang that pregnant woman. I didn't really find her attractive in the other seasons, but wow, season 1? She would have had to carry 2 babies, if you know what I mean. I love Dean Norris as Hank Schrader. In the first season, they made him just some like typical law enforcement guy. Nice but tough, who is packing a little bit of extra weight and is bald. Just like everyone else on the show. But then they gave him a lot more to do. Even with his character, you don't suspect it from season 1, but with his character, you truly get invested in his story eventually. You see the toll the job takes on him. How much he has to suck her up and just, repress all that shit and just not deal with it. How he has no position to express any of it. I can't remember if it's season 3 or 4. I'm pretty sure it is season 4. At one point, they make Hank a total bitch to his wife Marie. Yeah, I called him a bitch. That's what he was being, not an asshole. Where he's taking out his anger and trauma on his wife. Like a bitch. I'm telling you, Matt, this show challenges you with its characters. The reason why we stay on board even when the characters are not so television-likey, if that makes sense, it's that you don't judge the characters. The writing's so good that it just makes sense for those characters to be that way at that particular time. But Hank, after, you know, he's done being a bitch, he becomes way more likable, like right away, and he's got the charm. You're so invested in his journey. And the clash of him hunting down the kingpin of crystal meth, who happens to be his brother-in-law. Just God, genius! Honestly, the character I didn't care too much for was Marie Schrader. I never fully believed her. I felt like some part of her was always acting. It was too easy for me to notice. Not that she's a bad actress. She has some truly great moments. Some great episodes even. And sometimes I think, yeah, I'll put my penis in her. Especially in the last season, she had some great moments. It was just like the first two where it was really distracting. But later on, she becomes much more intriguing to watch. And that's so cool to not just see a character evolve, but watch an actress evolve over time. Someone who could win me over. Because it's all about pleasing Ryan Wright. And RJ Might as Walter White Jr. or Flynn. This dude is an incredible actor. I heard in real life he does have a mild case of cerebral palsy, but in the show, you know, he had to not like amp up the cerebral palsy. He had to portray it even more because he just had a mild case. This guy had a big case of cerebral palsy. I didn't know till the show was over that he was acting all that. I thought they hired a kid who really had it that bad. If there's one complaint I had about the guy, it's that he doesn't look anything like Walter White or Mrs. White. But that's not really his fault. I mean, he could have gotten surgery, but he's not committed to the performance like that. And of course, the supporting characters. Bob Odenkirk as Saul. Better Call Saul. I love Saul. Saul is one of the most entertaining people to watch. Just in general, this actor does a great fucking job. And if there's any performance in this show that could have been a two-dimensional performance, it could have been this guy. But man, he just brings him to life with the sense of humor, the business, the swag that he's got going on. A lot of the characters don't really trust him or don't think he's that smart, yet in the audience seat, you always have faith in Saul. And I think the Better Call Saul show is gonna be fucking awesome. All you gotta do is explore his personal life, which we never got to see. So you get that in there and bam, we got a show. Jonathan Bakes as Mike Ehrmantraut. Another very human performance. They're all so good. Something about his performance tells me that he was only supposed to be on a few episodes, but then they thought he was so good that they kept him on for most of the series. He's that former cop who now rolls with the bad guys. But he's always cool and collected, never really in a panic. You know, there's a sense of like vulnerability and sincerity, but you can also feel like a bad guy in this dude. Whatever Mike says, you're gonna fucking do it. It's that simple. If Mike says, suck your own dick, you're gonna figure out a way to do it. I would totally suck my own dick if Mike asked me to. And who can ever forget Gus Fring? Forgot the actor's name. His first episode, when he burst onto the screen, holy shit! We knew how amazing he was that very moment. If you guys saw the show, do you remember that? He's just a regular nice manager, and you totally buy him as just this regular nice guy. And then in that moment where he just says a sentence, "You and I are not alike at all, Mr. White." That was the first time I tried that impression, and somehow I came out with Philip Seymour Hoffman. He just like makes this switch to total gang badass leader. He's like the black or Hispanic, I don't know what fucking ethnicity this guy is, version of what Walter White could be. Gustavo Fring, he's just the shit, man. When I think of like ultimate badass businessman, I immediately think of this guy. This guy never loses his cool. And if he's about to, you're like, oh, dang. Then your heart starts beating really fast and you get an erection for some reason. I don't know why. This guy knows how to persuade like anyone. And if you can't be persuaded, you better look the fuck out. Because black or Hispanic Walter White is coming after you. Like, the great thing about his performance is they barely give you any background about him. They have like one short flashback with him. But you can feel that the actor knew the whole history in and out. I said in and out. I could do a better one. That's what she said. And I gotta give credit to Jesse Plemons as Todd. He's only in the last season of the show, but man, was he great. Like, he comes across like a total nice, charming guy that you forget all the time that he's a complete psychopath. Like, so much sincerity to the role that you like him when he's just being Todd. In a moment, it's like, oh shit, I forgot he's a massive serial killer. He was fantastic in the role, and I love the antagonistic relationship he forms with Jesse. The writing of this is so brilliant because they understand every element of the character's being. It's like every writer asks themselves, how should this character be now that this thing has happened to them? They like think about the whole psychology of it all. They take every factor into consideration. The core of the story is the characters, not, you know, watching guys just cook crystal meth and make a shit ton of money. Although that shit is cool. That shit makes you want to cook crystal meth. That shit makes you want to try crystal meth too. I had some a little bit earlier. And each season is its own chapter of this one complete story. Think about it. If you've seen the last episode, imagine introducing the last episode to someone as the first episode they'd be watching. Just that episode alone has so much in it that people could like make up the history behind it. It creates more mystery to the elements. And then every episode before the last one feels like a prequel to that one. That you'll want to see it from beginning to end because every single season and episode all ties in. Like rewatching it, I forgot just how different the characters changed by season 5. Like they're just not the same. Like the actions of these people have major cause and effect. The story is not about the end result. It's about the goddamn journey. There's no way I can see this story being told into a movie. And they were each 2.5 hours. And it was a 2.5 hour version of that season. And they divided part 5 into 2 parts. I'm talking to you, Hollywood. This is me copywriting the Breaking Bad movie idea. And then you get Ray Winstone as Walter White. And Zac Efron as Jesse Pinkman. And Ed Asner as Hank Schrader. I know casting. And every episode was just directed beautifully. Whoever their cinematographer was on that show, wow. Sucking his dick. It has that realistic feel about it, and it's like slow moving and there's tension. And even though it's like a rather slow show, it's incredibly gripping the whole time. Like there's so many people I meet that watch this show who I would have never suspected to watch this show. I have met Asian people who watch this show. The show to me is the best anti-hero series I've ever seen. I'm sad the show is over, man. I miss hanging out with these characters, going on this dangerous journey with them. It's great to have a series where each season is strongly important. The show doesn't feel strung out. It just gets more intense as the story continues. And thank God it ended brilliantly. If I had to choose my 2 favorite seasons, I would probably choose like season 2 because that's when I felt Walter White was really Breaking Bad in that one. Like part 1 was the introduction to him Breaking Bad, but part 2 is when he was, no, this is him becoming Walter White. That was the real start of what he became. And also in season 2, you got hooked into the other characters more. It just felt right. It's like it was a perfect extended version of season 1. Because season 1 is just more introducing the characters, getting you invested in them. Season 2 is when the actual journey of this shit really takes off. But season 5, holy shit! I had so many anxiety attacks watching this show. Do you know how many times I had to masturbate to calm down during this show? Now let me tell you, it was the easiest thing to masturbate to. Try jerking off when people are cooking meth. Go ahead, put the video on pause, go to the other room, and jerk off. How was it? Yeah. And one of the midpoints of the last half of season 5, it starts off like 5 minutes in, there's a shocker moment. I'm here to tell you right now, if you haven't seen the show, there's a moment where your jaw is gonna drop 5 minutes into one episode. That's how shocking it is. The directing, writing, acting, some of the best I've ever seen. Not just in television, but in like all cinema all around. Let me get straight to the point here. All in all, I gotta say Breaking Bad got it super duper right. Alright guys, thanks for checking out my review for Breaking Bad. Why don't you go ahead, scroll that comment box below, and tell me, did you jerk off to crystal meth? And if you want to see more episodes from Straight to the Point, you can click right here. Watch more of my reviews. Watch more of my shit. Because I did a lot of videos. I'm very self-absorbed. And last but not least, if you want to get updated every time one of my reviews is out, go ahead and click on this button by my dick to subscribe. That's right. You subscribe by clicking the penis. That simple. Tell you something. Little Ryan right here. He's been ready to break bad for a while. I'm talking fat black chicks, Taiwanese women, and of course, hookers with an STD. And no, I won't be wearing a condom. That is really Breaking Bad. Actually, imagining that for myself almost gave me a heart attack.